commercial conversion, service accommodation, HMOs, buy-to-let, lease options, and everything in between. There are so many strategies out there for investing in property. How do you find the right one for you? So there's a number of things to consider when investing in property, but let's start with the complexity of the strategy. So if you imagine this pyramid here, and you've got these different levels of complexity that you're going to come with. So at the top is the most complex. So you're probably going to be looking at something like commercial conversions, or maybe even, for example, top-line developments, maybe even hotel investments. So commercial conversions, just for those of you that don't know, anything that is outside of C3 use. So it could be offices, retail, pubs, a farmhouse, industrial, loads of different things. Anything like that. A commercial conversion is when you're converting it to residential. So maybe in your town, you've seen an office block get converted to a block of flats, as an example. So that's going to be high risk, and it's going to be high capital, okay? And this is what I call slow money. Then as you come down, you've probably got another layer of here of risk, which is probably going to be serviced accommodation, or we'll call it creatives, all right? I'll put create there. So creative will be things like lease options, assisted sales, exchange delayed completion. Now, I'm not a fan of these ones here. It's not because I don't like them, by the way. I think they're really cool strategies. I just think they're promoted as really entry level, which they're just not. Serviced accommodation, I'd say, do you know what? I'm going to draw a line here and take this one out. I think serviced accommodation can be higher risk when you're doing like hotels, stuff like that, but also can be relatively low risk. And then you've got HMOs as well. So service accommodation, by the way, is when you've got guests, so you're charging people by the night, kind of like an alternative from hotels for people. And again, you've got probably medium capital investment here and probably medium to high risk, dependent on where you're looking at this sort of level here. Then at the bottom stage with your entry level where you've got low risk, I've written it on the wrong way, don't care, and low capital. Now, these two are going to be your boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties, which personally I love because it's repeatable and deal packaging. Now, this is really going to depend where you're at. So, this is where your entry level is going to be, your risk is lowest and your cash capital investment's lowest. This is where your risk is starting to increase, a little bit more cash flow coming in though, so you make a bit more money. And then this top level here is going to be your big boy money with your commercial conversions and development, but also the highest risk. It's where your potential to lose money is at its highest here, and at its lowest, well, lowest will be this bottom right-hand corner, deal packaging, then buy-to-let, and then probably HMO service accommodation and building up from there. So, deal packaging, by the way, is when you are finding a property for an investor. So that's the sort of risk analysis and the first thing you need to be looking at. The second one is money. So money's a really big one because a lot of people, and again, I see people do this, if you're brand new to property, don't worry, you can raise millions and stuff like that. Well, if you're surrounded by money, then yes. But you need to be realistic. How much money do you have, number one, and how long are you willing to wait until money comes in? So if you are looking for speed, for example, on the one side, you're going to have deal packaging, which is hands down the fastest way of making money in property. And then, you know, people talk about rent to rents, lease options as being fast. They're not really that much faster than buying a property. That's more about capital investment. But let's say you then went to, you know, your creatives. So your creative, specifically lease option and rent to rents. Then what you're going to have is your purchase, but like your standard ones like SA and buy-to-lets, and then you're going to have commercial conversions. So this is your fast money and this is your slow money. Now, something I want to be really clear on here, by the way, is fast in property is not get rich quick. There is nothing in property that is get rich quick, okay? It's very much a get rich slow mentality. But that's the first part, is going to be the speed that you need to operate at. On top of that, you're going to have to consider your wealth. So the other thing when I'm talking about money is how much do you have? Because if you're going to do a commercial conversion or maybe a development, you might need upwards of £250,000. Again, right at the bottom of that, you're going to have deal packaging, which you might need 3,000 to 5,000. And by the way, when I say 3,000 to 5,000, I mean for your training, your compliance, because there is compliance with owning a business, and your marketing expenses. So again, risk low here, time and speed low here, and your money in low here, but your reward is the next thing to be looking at, is definitely going to be lowest as a deal packager as well. So as a deal packager, you might get paid between £5,000 and £10,000 per deal, where you're finding a deal for somebody else, but you don't take any risk on, and you get paid up front if you do it right. So that's going to be your fastest way of making money, lowest risk way of making money, but also the lowest reward. Upwards to development and commercial conversion, where it's the highest risk. It's going to take you the longest to get the money in, and it is the most capital intensive, but it's also the most rewarding in there as well. So one commercial conversion can make you hundreds of thousands of pounds in profit, for example. So it's not that I don't like any strategy at all. What one should you start with? Well, if you're watching this and you're at the beginning of your journey, I think you need to think about a 70, 20, 10 approach. Now, what do I mean by 70, 20, 10? Well, 70 is 70% of the time, and this is going to be your most active income stream. Okay, your most active one. They're spending most of your time doing this. 20% is going to be your secondary income stream in property, and I'll give some examples of this. And then 10% will likely be your research. Now, my personal recommendation about this is that you need to incorporate deal packaging in your 70 or your 20. Mine, for example, is 70% is my deal packaging business, Aspire Property Group, where we're doing about 30 properties a month for other people. I want to get it to 50 properties a month. My 20 is, you probably know this already by now, boring, vanilla buy-to-let properties where I'm building my own portfolio, and then 10% is developments. And even my developments, they're very basic level if I'm completely honest. So my aim is to do 50 a month of deal packaging. My aim with buy-to-lets is to eventually get to 10 purchases a month, and developments to do 1 a month. So it gives you an idea. However, if you are doing serviced accommodation as your main one, I recommend that you would start with doing deal packaging, but deal packaging serviced accommodation, then doing serviced accommodation. And the reason for that is, how many can you actually take on yourself? Well, maybe 1, 2, 3, and then you need to stop for a while. But you want to maintain those relationships. So you want to focus on building a client list of deal packaging clients for serviced accommodation, build it up yourself. However, if you've got a load of money there, you can take on a lot more. Maybe your 70 is going to be serviced accommodation, then your 20 is going to be deal packaging, and then your 10 will be whatever it is. But ultimately, you want your strategy that is building your long-term wealth, which is going to be the strategy where you are retaining the property, which is why I love buy-to-let property. I'm going to own it until I die. And then you want a active cash cow business, which for me is the deal packaging business. As I said, there is no right and wrong with what your 70, 20, 10 should be. My belief is that deal packaging should be a core part of it, but ultimately it's very much going to depend on how much risk you want to take on, how much capital you've got, and your experience level in the first place when deciding your strategies. The final thing to consider is who you are in the first place. So what do you like doing? For example, I love deal packaging because I like solving problems. And if I talk to an investor and I've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, and I use it in that ratio, then I'm going to be able to listen to their problems, understand them, and apply the right solution. Whereas actually, if you're the sort of person that gets madly stressed out every single time a problem hits you, then maybe deal packaging isn't going to be for you. If you're somebody that's got a huge amount of patience, which I believe I've got amazing level patience, but my team tell me that I do not, then maybe doing a long-term development or commercial conversion, which is extremely agonizingly slow day to day, then that won't be for you. So hopefully this has helped narrow it down. But once you understand who you are, how much your risk appetite is there, how much capital you've got, and the timeline that you're willing to be patient for, that's going to help you decide what to do. For those of you that already know and you want to learn more about education around property investment and you're ready to invest in yourself, then put education in the comments below, or we'll put a link in the description, and you can book in for a one-to-one free consultation and strategy session to see if you're the right fit for one of our programs. Hopefully you got value from this, and if you did, make sure to lightly destroy the like button. And if you're new to the channel and you want to find out more about property investment, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.